is the importance of recognizing good posture, what good posture is and where it begins, what an anterior pelvis and a posterior pelvis is, because as I'm going to show you, posture begins in the pelvis and the spine. What forward head posture is. Forward head posture is a dead giveaway to a problem. Okay? As soon as your posture changes, your head has to change. So forward head posture is a dead giveaway to all kinds of malfunctions in the athlete. One of them is respiratory. I'll go over that in a minute. We are always trying to hold ourselves up against gravity. This is active, right? And this is the basic spot where the athletes that you're facing have their challenges. You can see it. They stand there like this. They're hanging from gravity. Most of them get out of their chairs in school. They come to me to get a screening and they look like this. And it's obvious. Something's gone wrong. How do you perform like that? You ever see a professional baseball player standing up there like this? You're never going to see it, man. These guys break down before college. They don't make it that far. The body blows apart. Neutral posture is where I'm going to begin giving you guys an idea of what alignment is, because neutral posture is the position that the body uses least energy to maintain alignment. It's the position where it's resisting gravity with the least tension on joints and tissues, the least muscle activation on EMG, right? So this is the easiest way to hold yourself up. If I stand here nice and aligned, simple. It's not hard. I'm not struggling to do it. As soon as my posture changes, man, I have a significant more amount of load on my flexors. My extensors are barely doing anything, and I'm basically hanging from joints and tissue. Changes the way I do it. Now, people don't understand this, but you're fatiguing all day long standing up in an inefficient posture, and then you get on the field later in the day, you're already dead. So it's how do we align ourselves so that we have enough energy to get back out there and learn how to play these sports. And you guys are trying to teach, so it's to have something that you can teach has to have energy, has to have awareness, has to be awake. It can't be dead tired from just trying to hold itself up all day. So we're going to talk about good posture from the spine and pelvis, because that's where it all begins. You got to think the spine and pelvis in the body's mind are the first thing that matters. There's a great video by a guy named Serge Gradovetsky called The Spinal Engine. And what he did is he videotaped a guy walking perfect gait from the back, and all you see is this perfect movement, perfect walk. But when he pans away, the guy has no femurs. He's just walking on his ischiums. There's actually no legs at all. Okay? The lesson is that it's the bend in the spine, the correctly aligned spine. The spine is a curve, and the curve is for a reason. Right? The curve is for mobility. Otherwise, it would be straight if it was just a building. You know what I mean? It's much easier to build a straight structure. But that curve, when you bend the curve, it brings one side forward. So gait and all of these movements originate in the spine. And believe me, your brain could care less about arms and legs versus a spine and a pelvis. These are the things that really matter. We want to get a look at what good posture is and where it begins. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to, just sitting in your seat, because it's the easiest way I can teach it. First, sit toward the edge of your seat if you can. I know you got these crazy desks. And you're going to feel where postural alignment begins by just rolling your pelvis under. Okay? When you roll your pelvis under, you slouch. You guys feel that slouch? Okay? Pay attention. When you slouch, your femurs roll out. These are coupled movements. Your feet move to the outside edge of your chair. Your spine flexes. Your head extends. You understand? As you roll your pelvis across down into deep anterior forward pelvic tilt, you feel your spine extend. Head pick up. Thighs roll in. Weight moves toward the edge of your feet. So position of the pelvis determines the position of the spine and the extremities. It has to. The bones only fit a certain way. So as one thing moves, other things move. The body is filled with coupled movements. And this is where it all begins, in the pelvis. When I'm looking for good neutral posture, I find the middle. Just go ahead, roll front to back, and then just find the middle. And that's about it, right? We run around with the dowel rod for all kinds of movements and checking and things like that. And the basic alignment principles are, the dowel rod should touch my tail, between my shoulders, back of my head, and I should be able to just fit the thickness of my hand back there. So if I stand there like this, and my posture is anterior, feel my whole arm back there. It's not even touching my shoulders. If I slouch, where my head goes. It's not even touching my head. Right? So in that middle neutral range, you have decent alignment. So I run around with a stick. You know, once you can't see, just look, use this as a quick reference point. How's your spine looking? You get an idea, if you can't see it at first, what the spine is doing. So you're going to see this is critical, right? So here we go. Why is it important? Let's feel. We're going to do this from the slouch because you're going to see more slouching students than you are non-slouching students. I see very few military students these days. Everyone's over slouched, right? So let it all roll out and slouch in your chair. If you have low back pain, don't over slouch. It's only going to aggravate it. Right in this position, we're going to start with the head and neck. We're going to go joint by joint. We're going to see what this does. Go into your slouch and turn your head left and right. Tell me how much of the room you see. Right? Look up and down. Tell me if you have any range of motion. Now go ahead, sit up in neutral. Sit up tall. Look around again. What happened? All of a sudden you see your neighbor, right? You can see his skin. Feel that? Can you imagine what's happening to these athletes like this? I mean, these things are really small little vertebrae, all these, you got 4 little facet joints, you got these tiny ass little discs. Stuff is not designed for forceful rotation like this. Okay? So you can see a quick cue is forward head posture. My head's forward. Oh, just a quick note on forward head posture. The really interesting thing about it is you're looking at this for all kinds of reasons, right? So I look a lot at spinal alignment and development, but sometimes that forward head, you can't fix it because what's happening is you have an athlete who's got food intolerances or something like that, and they're having respiratory trouble. And I'm sure you've all taken CPR. What's the first thing you do is open airways. But if I open my airways, I'm looking at the ceiling, now I'm looking straight ahead. Right? You'll see a lot of this, man. You get a guy who can't really breathe and be like this all the time. I'm telling you, they're probably intolerant to something like cheese or gluten or any of these other tons of flour, too much junk. I mean, throwing a Gatorade down the system and all of a sudden, I see this stuff day and night. I mean, we're made out of the food we eat, so, you know, a lot of respiratory issues lead to postural issues, because this is most important. You breathe like 30,000 times a day, and that's it. Everything else sacrifices itself to breathing. So it's very important to understand what forward head posture is. Okay, let's go back into that slouch. And we're going to look at the shoulder. I mean, people have athletes with shoulder injuries. I mean, they're tearing like crazy, right? So go into your slouch position and just raise your arms up and get an idea of where they bind. Okay? Bring the ball like you're going to throw a ball. How far do you get? Go ahead, sit up tall. Same thing. Feel a big difference, right? Okay. The shoulder joint only goes 140 degrees. That's it, and that's the range of motion of the shoulder. The rest comes from the thoracic spine. So if you're sitting here like this and doing this, you're tearing the shit out of your shoulder. You're putting an unbelievable amount of pressure on the anterior aspect of the shoulder capsule. And then you see an athlete go to throw a ball, which is right in here, even more at bang. I wonder why they have a slap or a Bagpart tear or something like that, and they're rehabbing in this. The worst thing to rehab. To rehab the shoulder. Someone came crawling up the wall. So think about this stuff. You got a pitcher, you got a throwing athlete, you got a defensive basketball athlete playing like this. They are not going to last. Volleyball, you're not going to last. Blowing out your shoulders. You got to get up. You got to use your spine. You have to think about what the alignment is. Okay, so let's do the same thing by rotating. Let yourself slouch. And let's rotate the torso. Where does it stick? Right? Sit up tall. What happens? I think all of you guys have 4 athletes that are forcefully rotating. Again, that probably have back pain. I mean, you've got discs, you've got the facet joints, you've got all of these little interactions. And when you're trying to get this spine, which is only designed to rotate in certain ways, to rotate out of alignment, you're pissing it off. And it's not a question of if you're going to get hurt. It's a question of when. And if you don't get hurt, you will never reach your performance potential as an athlete. You could just be so much better. You understand? So it's not even like, oh, well, I don't ever get hurt. I'm fine. You can imagine what you could do if you stood up straight. Make sense? So now, before moving on to the pelvis and lower limbs, I just want to give you the idea that you could do all these things in over-erect posture, and you're going to notice range of motion limitations as well. All right? So either way, neutral is the most ideal for rotation and things and throwing things to that effect. So let's go on to the pelvis. By standing up, and you guys can do this, you can stand or you can watch, it's up to you. If I stand up, tuck my tail under, why doesn't everybody stand up? I'm not going to leave you. Right in here, try not to move your body, just feel your pelvis move forward and back. And when you do, you're going to notice your feet are changing where the weight is. Weight on the inside of the feet, weight on the outside of the feet. You feel that? You feel your femurs turn out, you feel everything happening, feel your low back, you feel that. So I'm telling you, when that pelvis drops in, your feet flatten. Right? You throw in some arch supports, or just put your pelvis straight. Make a big difference. You turn your pelvis out, your arches extend. They pick right back up. So these things come from the top down. So here we go. Let's be an athlete. Turn yourself and slouch. Turn your pelvis all the way under, and try and move your hips. You know, try and rotate the hips, and you're locked. Move into a more neutral position, and you have range of motion. You feel the difference? Right? You have a total different ability. So just the way you align makes all the difference as to what you can do. You simply can't do certain things from poor alignment. It's not possible, or it's possible, it just ends in the orthopedic surgeon's room, which people seem to really love to do nowadays. I don't know about we understand that things should be aligned, right? I mean, I think that's clear. Yes? No one disagrees with me. We all don't think that this is the ideal way to hit a baseball. That's good. I'm glad. Now we want to think about what we have to do to maintain stability. So first alignment, now we have to maintain stability of this aligned structure. Okay? So the things I want you, the key aspects to learn to identify here is a bulging lower abdominal area. Below the belly button. Okay? Shut down core. It's a good thing, right? You can see it, you see it in everybody. What you want to look for is a strong abdominal area above the belly button and nothing below. Again, we talk food intolerances and all kinds of things, but in the end, it's purely muscle activation, trying to get these muscles correct, right? So I want you to recognize overall instability. That little compression test, that's a great one. You're going to put your hands on students and you're going to see them bend like twigs. You know, it's amazing. I feel very few people who are actually stable on that compression test right away. It's a simple way for you to identify how unstable an athlete is. And arm raise, right? Same thing. It's easy to see the stability with these quick, simple tests. So you want to learn to identify when someone is not being stable, right?